What happens when America's sweetheart, Kelly Clarkson, walks into what should have been a joyful morning show interview and instead finds herself cornered on live television? What began as a routine Today Show appearance spiraled into one of the most uncomfortable moments in daytime TV, a moment so intense that Kelly Clarkson stood up, walked off set, and left Craig Melvin stunned in silence as producers scrambled behind the scenes. If you want the full play-by-play of how a simple question pushed Kelly to her limit, hit that subscribe button and tell us below what you think set this off. A smooth morning until it wasn't. It started like any other star-studded morning at NBC Studios in New York. Kelly Clarkson, riding high off the success of her talk show and music career, arrived smiling, greeting every crew member with warmth, the same genuine humility she's adored for. Craig Melvin was ready, enthusiastic, prepared. A feel-good segment, 8 minutes, light banter, new album talk. What could possibly go wrong? They sat beneath the bright studio lights, America's most relatable voice and NBC's polished anchor, and the conversation flowed. Effortlessly at first, Craig welcomed her with excitement. Kelly laughed easily, explaining the inspiration behind her new tracks, her creative growth, her excitement for the next chapter. It was textbook daytime TV gold, until it WASN single quotes. The question that shifted the air. Then Craig leaned in just slightly, the way hosts do when they're about to cross from friendly into personal. So Kelly, your fans are always cheering you on. You've been open about your divorce and everything you've been through. How are you doing now? And are you seeing anyone? Kelly's smile didn't fade, but her eyes shifted, just a flicker, a tightening at the corners. Anyone watching closely would feel the temperature drop, you know? Craig, she said softly, still polite but firmer now, I'm in a really good place. Focused on my kids, my work, taking life one day at a time. That's where my heart is right now. A gentle boundary. Professional, respectful. And then Craig crossed it. There've been some rumors lately, he pressed. Tone playful but insistent. Anything you want to confirm? That flicker turned sharp. Kelly's shoulders stiffened. I prefer to keep my private life private, she replied, voice measured a velvet-covered warning. Most interviewers would pivot. Craig didn't, but your fans want to see you happy. Just a little hint, what makes Kelly Clarkson happy outside of work? The moment everything snapped, Kelly's hands tightened in her lap. Her smile thinned to something controlled, and her voice, still calm, carried the weight of a boundary being crossed one time too many. What makes me happy, she said clearly, is being able to come on shows like this and talk about my music and my work without having my personal life poked apart for entertainment. Silence fell, the kind that blankets a room when everyone realizes the mood has shifted beyond recovery. A producer shuffled off camera. Craig blinked, unsure whether to backpedal or push again. And Kelly Clarkson, gracious, open, endlessly kind Kelly Clarkson, exhaled, stood up, and with a polite but final nod, walked off set, leaving Craig Melvin speechless, leaving NBC scrambling, leaving millions stunned. And now, the question for you, was Kelly defending a personal boundary, or did Craig simply misread the moment? Comment your thoughts below and don't forget to subscribe for the full breakdown. And what happened after the cameras cut? Asterisk crew members began exchanging uneasy glances, the kind that say something's going wrong and no one knows how to stop it. The energy on set shifted, slow at first, then unmistakably sharp. Craig didn't flinch. Whether he missed the signals or simply refused to read them, he pressed on with a smile that suddenly felt a little too tight. Kelly, I think you might be reading too much into this, he chuckled awkwardly. We're just having a friendly conversation. People care about you, the person, not just the performer. Kelly's eyes flashed, not breaking her composure, but sending a warning shot. I appreciate that, Craig, I really do. But caring about someone doesn't give them ownership over every detail of their private life. A subtle silence hit the studio. The kind that happens when two people stop being playful and start defending principles. Craig leaned in, jaw tightening ever so slightly. "I'm not asking for everything," he insisted. "These are basic questions any celebrity would expect. This is part of being in the public eye, something you signed up for." A flicker of disbelief crossed Kelly's face, then resolve. "What I signed up for," she replied. Tone sharpening, was to share my music, my work. Not to justify my private decisions or hand over my personal life as gossip content for morning TV. The warmth that had filled the studio minutes earlier evaporated. Tension settled in its place. Instead of easing off, Craig doubled down. "Kelly, I think you're being a little defensive here. I'm not invading anything. I'm doing my job. Our viewers want to know the real you. You've shared so much in the past, so why is this off limits?" Kelly's grip tightened on the arms of her chair. Her voice was calm, dangerously calm. "There's a difference between choosing to share something because it might help someone, and being pushed to reveal things I'm not ready to talk about. I thought you understood that." Camera operators kept filming, but even they shifted uncomfortably. Behind them, stagehands froze, listening. Craig tried again, digging in. "Look, I respect privacy, but when you build a brand around authenticity, especially as a talk show host, people are naturally interested in your life." Kelly leaned in, eyes locked, voice low and controlled, but razor sharp. "So because I create a safe space for others, I lose the right to have one myself. That's what you're implying." "That's not what I meant," Craig sputtered, rattled now. "I'm saying you can't expect people not to wonder when you've built your entire image around being relatable and open." Kelly shook her head slowly, incredulous. "My image is built on genuine connection. On honesty when I choose it, not on offering my life up as entertainment whenever someone decides they want more. There's a difference." The studio, usually buzzing, had gone still. A producer whispered urgently into a headset off camera. Craig, sensing the moment slipping but unwilling to surrender, aimed one final shot. "I get your point. But honestly, reacting like this to harmless questions, people are going to wonder what you're hiding." Gasps fluttered through the crew. Kelly's face hardened. Her voice stayed even, but the emotion beneath it was unmistakable. "What I'm trying to hide, Craig," she said slowly, "is a sense of normalcy for my children. A little space to breathe. Privacy isn't secrecy. Privacy is sanity." Silence fell thick, heavy, unbreakable. Everyone felt it. A line crossed, and something deep awakened, and in that moment, 'twas clear. This wasn't just an interview anymore. This was a boundary being defended, live, raw, and without apology. "What I'm trying to do," Kelly said, exhaling sharply, "is have relationships that aren't dissected by strangers. To be a person who happens to be famous, not a famous person who doesn't get to be human anymore." Craig shifted in his chair, the first real sign that the gravity of the moment had finally hit him. "Kelly, I didn't mean to sug, no." Her voice cut through the air like glass. "Let me finish." The studio froze. "You want to know what I'm hiding?" Kelly asked, voice trembling just enough to reveal how deeply this touched her. "I'm hiding the fact that sometimes I sit in my car after interviews like this and cry. Because no matter what I do, I can't win." The room went unnaturally still. "If I share too much, I'm accused of oversharing for attention. If I keep anything private, I'm called secretive or difficult. I'm hiding the fact that my kids sometimes ask why strangers think they have the right to judge our lives." Several crew members looked away as if witnessing something too personal to watch. Craig's expressions softened, the defensiveness fading. replaced by something closer to regret. But Kelly wasn't done, and sometimes she continued. I wonder if the price of all of this, she gestured around the studio, is worth it. When I have to justify my basic right to privacy to people who should understand that line better. Her voice cracked just enough to reveal the weight behind it. You have a family. Craig, would you want every detail of your relationships debated by millions of strangers? Craig inhaled, about to respond, but Kelly raised a hand, silencing him. And you know what else I'm hiding? She said quietly. How disappointed I am right now. Because I respected you. I thought you knew the difference between journalism and poking at someone's wounds for entertainment. The words hit like a punch. You could feel it ripple through the crew, through the control room. No one moved. No one breathed. Craig swallowed, stunned. Kelly, I think I may have misread the situation. No, Craig. Her voice was calm. Final, you didn't misread anything. You saw discomfort and pushed anyway because you thought it would make good TV. She paused, then looked directly into the camera, the way only someone fully aware of the moment can. Well, congratulations. Her tone was icy, resolved. You got your moment. Craig's face went pale. Panic flickered behind his eyes. Kelly, I never intended. Intentions don't outweigh actions, she cut in. And today, your actions showed that making a headline mattered more than respecting a boundary. The words hung thick in the air, heavy, suffocating, impossible to walk back. Kelly stood slowly, chair scraping softly against the studio floor, the sound strangely loud in the silence. I think this interview is over, she said. Craig blinked up at her, voice cracking with urgency. Kelly, wait. Let's just reset. We can start over. She looked down at him, not angry now, but deeply disappointed. You can't start over a moment like this. You can't hit reset on respect. Craig tried one last defense, scrambling for justification. Okay, fine, maybe I pushed too hard. But asking tough questions is good journalism. Kelly let out a short, humorless laugh. Tough questions. She shook her head. Who are you dating? Is not investigative journalism, Craig. It's gossip. And you didn't ask it to enlighten viewers. You asked it hoping I'd slip and hand you something salacious. Around them, crew members stood frozen. Someone whispered urgently into a headset. Executive producers scrambled behind glass. Kelly, that's not fair, Craig pleaded. And probing into a mother's private life on live television is? She replied softly, but with steel beneath every syllable. Kelly took a breath, then turned toward the exit. I came here to talk about my work, she said, not to defend my right to a life. And with that, she walked off set, leaving Craig sitting alone beneath the studio lights. The cameras capturing every second of a moment no one on the Today Show would soon forget. Craig tried again. Voice strained now. Kelly, you're making this about ratings when it's really about connecting with viewers. People relate to you because you've been open. They just want to know you're okay. Kelly shook her head slowly, not angry now, but deeply disappointed. People relate to me because I choose to share parts of my life that might help them feel less alone. I share when I'm ready. In my space. On my terms. Her voice softened, but the hurt beneath it was unmistakable. What you tried to do was mine information from me like I'm a resource, not a person. Then, calmly, she unclipped her mic, each movement precise. Final, there's a difference between authentic connection and exploitation, she said quietly. And today, you didn't seem to know the difference. Craig stood abruptly, panic breaking through his host-polished composure. Kelly, come on, you're overreacting. This is television. We ask questions, people answer them, and everyone moves forward. You're acting like I did something terrible. Kelly paused and looked at him, not furious, but wounded in a way that hit harder than anger ever could. "You didn't commit a crime," she said softly, "but you did break trust." Craig blinked, and suddenly his confidence faltered. "You invited me here expecting honesty, kindness, professionalism," Kelly continued, placing the mic gently on her chair. "And instead, you saw an opportunity for a moment at my expense." He opened his mouth to protest. She didn't let him. "I keep hearing about your intentions," she said. "But intentions without awareness don't mean much. You wanted good television, but didn't consider what that would cost me." She looked around the studio at the stunned crew, at the silent cameras, at the control room scrambling behind glass. "You know what hurts most? I like interviews. I like sharing my work. I like connecting with people. But moments like this remind me why so many public figures build walls instead of bridges." Craig's voice was barely above a whisper now. "Please don't let one bad interview change how you see things." Kelly's gaze softened, but her resolve stayed steel strong. "This isn't about one interview," she replied. "It's about a culture that thinks fame means forfeiting humanity. That privacy is selfish. That asking for boundaries is somehow suspicious." She turned and began walking toward the edge of the set, slow, steady, sure. Craig followed a few steps behind, grasping for control. "What am I supposed to tell viewers?" he called after her. "How do I explain this?" Kelly stopped, turned, and met his eyes one last time. "Tell them the truth," she said. "Tell them you pushed someone past their comfort for entertainment, and they chose self-respect over a soundbite." Her voice strengthened with every word. "Tell them boundaries are allowed. Tell them fame doesn't cancel humanity. Tell them the people who entertain them go home to real children, real families, real fears, and they deserve the same dignity everyone else does." Craig stood frozen. No script, no teleprompter, no saving line ready. "And tell them," she added, voice steady, "that when someone says enough, the right thing to do is hear them, not question them." Then Kelly Clarkson turned, lifted her chin, and walked off set. Not storming, not dramatic, just a woman choosing herself. The studio lights hummed overhead. A boom mic hung still. Crew members stared in stunned quiet. Live cameras captured every second. A morning show turning into a moment no one there would ever forget. Craig stood alone under the lights, face pale, the realization settling like weight across his shoulders. Nothing about this broadcast would be forgotten or easily explained, and as silence filled the room, one truth stood clear. Kelly didn't make a scene. She set a boundary, and everyone watching saw why she needed to.